Hello everyone and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets and drama. So I'm back with another video where I'll be going through Trixie and Katya's recent podcast episodes where they are reviewing their time on season 7 and also spilling some backstage tea. And I'll be recapping just the parts that I found the most interesting. I've already done a video for episodes 1 and 2, which I'll link to in the description, but this video is for episodes 3 and 4. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. Also, if you like these videos and want to keep up to date with all things Drag Race, make sure you hit subscribe because it really does make a big difference. Thank you! Okay, so they started by talking about episode 3, which was the ShakesQueer challenge, which has gone down in history as one of the worst acting challenges. Trixie said that she actually got in touch with the challenge producer who came up with the idea for this challenge, who is named Todd Masterson, and she played a voice note from him where he explained what happened. In the voice note, Todd said that he came up with the idea for ShakesQueer and pitched it very last minute, but he didn't come up with the name of the challenge or wrote the scripts because they have a writing team that does all the words for stuff. Todd explained that in the writer's room, you end up just spewing out ideas, pitching the dumbest things, and then you let the executives put it all together. How Todd pitched it originally was, it was going to be Shakespeare but set in the RuPaul-iverse, but the producers then decided to write original scripts for it. Todd's original idea was going to be more of a Baz Luhrmann inspired thing, whereas the producers ended up making it more Saturday Night Live. But he said it turned out to be so bad that it was good. They moved on and Trixie said on season 7 in general, they were really pushing the storyline of young versus old, and they had the old ladies brigade versus the younger contestants. But Trixie said in real life during filming, she didn't really feel that way, but maybe in the story room they did. Because Trixie said that she was young, but people like Violet, Miss Fame and Pearl, who are also in the young group, didn't claim Trixie as one of their own, and the others barely liked each other anyway. Trixie also said competitions bring out the best in some people like Bob the Drag Queen, whereas for other people like Trixie, Violet and Miss Fame, they are not better in competitions. For example, Trixie said it took years for Trixie to get to the point where she feels like she's friends with Violet, but she joked that it may be one-sided. They talked about this week's mini challenge, which was a Soul Train dance-off dressed as grandmothers, and Trixie said she loves these types of dumb mini challenges, a bit like on All Stars 2 when they did the Beastly Golf challenge. But Katya shared that in real life, that mini challenge sucked because they were all so bad at it and it took so long to film, so presumably a lot of it must have been cut out in the edit. Also, Trixie shared that for the Soul Train dance-off challenge, during filming, she asked Katya how she got the cigarette to stay on her lip so well, and Katya told her that she actually superglued it to her lip. They moved on to the part where they were picking teams for the ShakesQueer challenge, and Violet was picked last again, which Trixie was confused by because Violet is so good in the challenges. But Katya said it doesn't matter because when the cameras are off and behind the scenes, Violet is still being, quote, a surely irascible B-word. Later, Trixie talked about her outfit in the ShakesQueer challenge and that it looked bad, and she shared that Max loaned her that grey wig. Trixie explained though that when the queens got the list of outfits for the season, they were told they needed a Shakespeare look, but they all thought it was going to be a runway outfit rather than a challenge outfit. Katya said hers and Violet's looks were used as reveals in the challenge, but they were never actually meant to be reveals because they were supposed to be runway looks, which is why the reveals in the challenge looked so, quote, clunky and laboured, which was unfair. Talking a bit more about the challenge itself, Trixie said her group went first and they did not get to watch the other group, which Katya was in, so they didn't realise just how bad that group was. When the other group walked back into the workroom after filming, Trixie asked Pearl how it went, and apparently Pearl took her wig off and said, quote, "I'm lip-syncing, I know I am," and Trixie didn't believe that it could have been that bad until she watched it later. Katya said in her opinion, scripted acting challenges in general are, quote, rotten, and even a great comedy actress could not have made that script funny. The lines were supposed to be funny and sound Shakespearean, but Katya said it didn't even sound funny when Michelle explained the line to Jasmine, and they should have at least tried to make the lines actually sound more Shakespearean.
It's about that rhyme.
It's really a rhythm. It's watch out, sisters, I'm the real prima donna. Head cheerleader is gonna be me, LaQuisha Kiana.
All of the awkwardness that we saw during filming, according to Katya, it was apparently so much worse in real life, because in real time, this happened over the course of 45 minutes, whereas we only saw a few minutes in the episode.
I gotta tell you, in 7 seasons of doing RuPaul's Drag Race, I've never seen a car crash like this before.
And although Katya said she was mid during this performance, she thought, quote, thank God, because she knew she wouldn't be going home because, quote, everyone sucked so bad. She also added that in the final edit of the challenge we see later in the episode, they clearly edited it to enhance the awkwardness and include dead air, which obviously you wouldn't normally do if you were trying to make it look as good as possible. They also talked about Jasmine Masters and how she kept getting her line wrong. Katya shared that in real life it was actually much worse, because remember that they filmed this for about 45 minutes and they did about 10 to 12 takes of Jasmine trying to do the line, which became, quote, painful. Usually you need a break for 15 minutes so you can come back and do it again, but on Drag Race there's no time. Katya said she would go outside for a smoke break, which Trixie said was a big part of season 7 because a lot of queens smoked. Katya said she had actually given up smoking for about a year and a half before Drag Race, but she immediately started smoking again during filming because of the stress. And that's how she ended up becoming friends with Ginger and Pearl, because they all went on smoke breaks together. They moved on to the runway, which was bearded queens. Katya said she thinks most of the outfits in this category were awful and way worse than she remembered. However, they said they liked Pearl's look, and apparently she came up with that look the morning of the runway. She came in and cut up all of those little red pieces and glued it to her face that day because she had no bearded runway planned. Trixie said her own outfit was a cheap gown from Amazon, and the zipper broke right before the runway happened. So she had to quickly install a white zipper, and then she spray painted it gold while she was wearing the outfit. They also found it funny that the guest judge for that episode, Mel B, hated Violet's outfit and her beard, whereas Trixie and Katya thought Violet looked really cute. They also talked about the fact that the critiques take multiple hours to film, even though we only see a few seconds per queen. Katya said that her feet were, quote, hammer time by that point, because she had only been wearing really uncomfortable heels for hours. But she shared that on All Stars 2, in the second episode, RuPaul let them take their shoes off if they were not on camera, which was, quote, such a game changer. Trixie said that if they break for lunch during the critiques, all the queens have to eat lunch in their drag outfits, but they're not allowed to speak, so they're literally just eating lunch in drag in silence. Trixie added that she remembers trying to eat in this bearded outfit was so difficult, so she remembers having to use hair clips on either side to hold the beard away from her mouth so that she could eat. Katya asked what the food was like on season 7 because she couldn't remember much about it, but she thought it was adequate. Trixie said she remembers that Kennedy Davenport kept going around saying that the food was, quote, nasty, and she wanted Boston Market instead, which is a fast food chain, but Katya said they did get it because of Kennedy. Trixie agreed and said, nobody will tell you this, but when you go on Drag Race, just say you won't eat the food and they'll get you whatever you want. They got to the part later on the main stage where RuPaul yelled at the contestants about being prepared.
I don't want to hear any goddamn excuses. Be prepared. Make it work. Make it work. Make it happen. I don't want to hear any goddamn excuses anymore.
Katya said it was, quote, scary because RuPaul really went off on them. Also, I remember seeing that during an All Stars 10 cast interview with Entertainment Weekly, Ginger Minj said that, quote, that crash out went on for about an hour or so it seemingly went on for a lot longer than what was shown. However, in that Entertainment Weekly video, they showed the part where RuPaul shouted at them during the actual acting challenge recording, so it's not clear if Ginger was referring to that crash out or the one that RuPaul had later during the main stage critiques, but either way, I just thought that this was interesting context that apparently this crash out went on for about an hour. Back to Trixie and Katya, Trixie asked how Katya felt about it when RuPaul shouted at them on the runway. Katya said she agreed with what RuPaul was saying, but there just wasn't enough time to do it all, which Trixie agreed with. Katya said, for example, in the next episode, which was the Tan With You spoof challenge, they were asking, quote, too much of the queens because they had very little time to learn their lines, go and record the vocals straight away, and they also had to come up with their own choreography and then get in drag all in one day. Katya said, quote, you're setting us up for failure, and surely enough, they all sucked. Trixie said watching RuPaul's rant back, she feels like RuPaul was saying that the Queen's poor performance reflects badly on her and the show. But Katya joked and said, quote, well then, why don't you hire a union writer B-word? They talked briefly about Jasmine's elimination and said that Jasmine had actually packed up her station even before the lip sync because presumably she had given up. Trixie said that with the eliminations, even though they brought the queens back for the makeover challenge in episode 8, the eliminated queens got to fly back home, and for example, Trixie got to fly back to Wisconsin for a week and see her boyfriend and family and friends. But for Candy Ho, they would not fly her back to Puerto Rico after her elimination, so she had to stay in her hotel room for 2 weeks. Katya said that that was, quote, unethical, and that there were other really crappy things like that. For example, that the queens had to pay for the baggage fees, which I also talked about in my last video. So Katya said, quote, y'all are really effing cheap. They said that on a regular season, you don't complain about these sorts of things because you don't know any better, but then when you come back for an All-Stars, you do know better, and the queens have a sense of, quote, entitlement. Moving on to episode 4, Trixie started out by saying that watching the season back, she got to thinking that everyone who auditions for Drag Race is asking to be critiqued and possibly eliminated, so you can't get mad when it happens. She also said she'd like to say thank you to Drag Race in general for having them on the show, because as much as they're talking about the bad stuff, the show did change their lives and it was, quote, a golden ticket. Katya said without the show, she would either be dead in a ditch or be working as a social worker in Boston with $200,000 worth of debt. They got onto the part where the queens chose the groups for the challenge. Trixie said that up to this point, she and Katya had not developed a friendship because they didn't know each other very well, but she knew that Katya would be good at doing dumb stuff, which is why she was happy to work with her. The reason Trixie chose Pearl is because they were already friends from before, and with Miss Fame, although on the show she comes across a bit crazy, in real life she's actually a, quote, very grounding presence and a very nice person. Speaking about this week's challenge in general, Trixie said this was the start of something she really hates, which is when the jokes on Drag Race are just about Drag Race, which Katya agreed with and said that the show really started to, quote, cannibalize itself after season 6. Trixie added that the other two groups just did jokes about Drag Race itself, which is why she wanted to do Tan With You, but she joked that that was obviously the wrong decision because she got eliminated later in the episode. Katya said that their performance was silly and dumb, but she does think that it was the best, and Trixie agreed. Trixie explained that day to day during the competition, Pearl and Miss Fame had just argued all the time, and at one point she just asked them if they hated each other. But during the challenge, it was so stressful because they had to come up with choreography themselves, and Pearl and Miss Fame were just arguing, whereas Trixie and Katya were just standing in the back watching. Trixie remarked about the challenge in general by saying that watching these episodes back after 10 years, she thought she was going to come back and realise how bad they were, but actually watching it back, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst either.
I ain't saying I'm the best, but I ain't the worst.
Speaking about how quickly everything happens on Drag Race, Katya explained how that day worked. So they arrived to set, waited for about an hour, then RuPaul came in and gave them the challenge. Then they had to get into groups, come up with a concept for the parody by themselves, then write the lyrics for their verses, which in itself could take a day. But they only had hours to do it. They then had to come up with the concept for the music video, come up with the choreography, then record the vocals. Then about an hour later, they got their vocals on an iPod so they could listen back to them. Trixie also told a funny story about Miss Fame when she heard her own vocals for the first time.
So she was like,
Trixie also explained why she kept walking off camera during the recording for the music video. Trixie said that she'd never been in a music video before or worked on a green screen, so she had no idea how they worked. She thought that when you finished your line, you need to leave because someone else is going to come in and do their line. So she just was totally clueless and had no idea how any of the editing process worked, which is why she just kept walking off camera. After they filmed their music video, Trixie said she walked away thinking their content was serviceable, and although the judges were not rolling with laughter, she thought they did fine. And they did not get to watch the other group's performances, so they had nothing to compare it to. Katya then referenced the part of the episode where RuPaul got annoyed at the group that made a joke about Drag U.
Except for Drag You. Girl, that really was a rough spot.
Come for a minute. That was a rough spot. All right. Well, yeah, it was one of my favorite jobs. Did change people's lives, you know.
Katya said that she was shocked because she does not think that RuPaul was actually offended by that, because that's the sort of joke that RuPaul would make herself. Trixie repeated what RuPaul had said, that Drag U, quote, changed lives, but Trixie joked and said that Drag Race has 40 Emmy Awards and Drag U has none, so take from that what you will. Moving on to the judging for the rest of the challenge, Katya said knowing how the rest of the season goes, she thinks that she should have won this challenge because she did well. The queen who actually won the challenge was Kennedy Davenport, and Katya said she did her, quote, ghetto character, which RuPaul goes crazy for. Trixie said Kennedy was great, but Katya said she thinks that she did better than Kennedy. However, Katya explained that knowing that Ginger and Kennedy would go on to win so many challenges for the rest of the season, it would have made more sense for Katya to win this challenge rather than the Whatever Happened to Merle Ginsburg acting challenge in episode 6. And Katya thinks it didn't make sense for her to win that Merle challenge because she was kind of mid in the challenge, but in this Tan With You spoof challenge, she thinks that she should have won. Moving on to the runway for that week, and the category was green. Katya said that her look was such a basic green dress with a really bad, quote, helmet wig. But the thing was, she was totally broke at the time and had no money, but she did have a green dress and the category was green, so that's what she took. Trixie said the outfit was totally forgettable, but she liked Katya's outfit more than Kennedy's outfit, not because Katya's was necessarily good, it was just more forgettable than Kennedy's outfit, which was actively bad. Katya said about Kennedy's outfit that it was over-designed with crappy chicken feathers, and Trixie said, quote, come on Kennedy, you know this is bad, but Katya said, quote, no, I don't think she knows that. Talking about Trixie's look, she said she doesn't think it's a losing look, but she doesn't stand by it now. The outfit was specially made for Drag Race because she didn't own anything green. Katya said that it was very Temple of Doom and, quote, ching chong. Trixie explained that now, looking through her eyes of 2025, back then when she was 23 years old, her only references to fashion were from costume stores or cartoons, which is why a lot of her stuff focused on occupations or jobs. But looking back on it, quote, a white girl wearing a Chinese dress. And then she said it never even crossed her mind that that was an odd choice and no one said anything to her about it. Katya said that this was 10 years ago, which might not seem like a long time ago, but a lot has changed. And this was during the time that, quote, Gwen Stefani had Harajuku girls as accessories. Trixie said that no one at the time took umbrage with this look, and they even made jokes about it on the runway.
Domo arigato ho. She's been shanghaied.
It was also the look she went home in, and everyone was upset that Trixie went home, but no one ever mentioned the outfit. But looking back on it now, Trixie thinks that it was an odd choice of outfit. Also, at the time, people knew that Trixie was close friends with Kim Chi, and a lot of people asked Trixie if she borrowed that outfit from Kim Chi, but Trixie said Kim is Korean, not Chinese. Moving on to the critiques, Trixie said she didn't think she was going to win this challenge, but she was really, quote, blindsided that she was in the bottom because she really did not expect to be. She thought that the bottom two were going to be Candy and Pearl. She also said that she knew every word of that lip sync song, which was Dreaming by Blondie, and she didn't even need to listen to the song because she knew it so well. She also thought that she would, quote, bury Pearl in the lip sync, but that didn't happen. Although she did say that she was 23 years old at the time, so there may have been a, quote, dollop of delusion in there. Katya added that she naively thought at the time that Trixie was going to stay because it was based on merit, but of course it was going to be produced because it's a reality TV show, presumably implying that she thinks that Pearl had a better storyline than Trixie, which might be why they kept Pearl over Trixie. Trixie said she knew in her heart of hearts that she was not going to win season 7, but she did not think that she was going to be going home so early. She and Katya said they both thought they would maybe last 3/4 of the way through and then go home. Also, when they called Pearl's name at first after the lip sync, Trixie was sure that it was going to be a double save because she couldn't believe that she was going to be eliminated, and Katya said that she was also just as shocked. Trixie then explained what happens when you get eliminated. So all of the other queens have to wait behind the main stage in silence for what seems like an hour, and the producers are making sure no one speaks to each other because they don't want the queens to talk about it without being on camera. The eliminated queen then gets taken into a room on her own and you're still in drag, and they do let you get out of makeup, but I presume this must be after you filmed the mirror message part. Trixie said she remembers the production staff told her that she did a great job and she was in 4 episodes, which means that she'll be on TV for a month. Plus, she also gets to come back for the reunion. They were all saying very true but encouraging things to her, and for example, Theron Smothers, who is an executive producer of Drag Race, said, quote, "You're forever a Drag Race girl and you can do anything with this. It's not a big deal. Someone went home yesterday, someone goes home tomorrow. It's okay." And Trixie said this was actually very helpful. But when she got eliminated, she got to go home for a week. They did tell her that she would be coming back in a week, but they didn't tell her why. They just said you'll be making another appearance so you can go home but don't unpack. And Trixie said they may have even let her leave her drag on set. But she did not know that the eliminated queens were being brought back for the makeover challenge. Also, when the show actually aired, Trixie was shocked at the outpour of support that she got because, quote, "When you get eliminated, everyone loves you because you're not in the running anymore, so people just focus on what they like about you. So going home early for her was actually sort of a blessing." Katya said that when Trixie got eliminated, she was also really shocked, but that was the moment that she felt like, quote, "where Pollyanna starts to become aware of production." This was also an emotional moment because Trixie and Pearl were real friends, and Pearl cried when Trixie left. Trixie also said that from a viewer's standpoint, this was the moment where Pearl started to actually care about Drag Race and started to try harder. But Katya clearly didn't agree and joked and said, quote, "A 180-degree personality change is very common to happen over 24 hours, and they both laughed. Trixie said she's still friends with Pearl, and Pearl is still so creative and amazing. In fact, Trixie had asked Pearl to send her a voice note with her thoughts about season 7, which she played. In the voice note, Pearl said that the most memorable thing about season 7 for her was having to lip sync against Trixie, because people don't understand what it's like to win that lip sync, but then watch Trixie become the Trixie we know and love today. She then said, quote, "For the last decade, I've been slowly, publicly executed because of this moment. Somehow, I'm 100% at fault, and as much as I appreciate the death threats, perhaps someone could have the wherewithal to blame the actual person who chose to send you home." She then went on to say that Ginger won a lip sync against Trixie, but no one seems to remember that, so, quote, "The wrath feels personal," and she ended by saying that she loves both Trixie and Katya and she'll always be their season 7 sister. Both Trixie and Katya said it was sad that Pearl felt that way, and it's unacceptable for the fans to treat the queens like that, because it wasn't Pearl who sent Trixie home, it was RuPaul. Katya said that she's never received that kind of hate or people telling her she didn't deserve to win, but Alaska did on All Stars 2. Katya added that there's been so many times during meet and greets where Alaska will hear people say that Katya should have won All Stars 2, even though Katya does not agree that she should have won. Trixie also said that hearing Pearl's voice note, it makes her sad, and if she had thought about that at the time, she would have said something to the fans about it to stop them being mean to Pearl. And this is a good time for me to say what I often say in my videos, that it's really not okay to send hate to the queens. Please remember that it's just a TV show and it's not that serious, so be mindful of what you're saying because it can have a negative effect on others. So there you go, there was a recap of Trixie and Katya reviewing episodes 3 and 4 of season 7. Did Trixie's elimination shock you when you first watched season 7? And are you enjoying these Trixie and Katya recaps and do you want to hear more? Let me know in the comments. If you'd like to get exclusive content, personalized videos, early access, as well as many other amazing benefits, please consider joining my Patreon. It's a cheap and easy way to support my channel, and it does make a huge difference. And if you're interested, I'll leave a link to my Patreon in the description. I'd also like to take an opportunity to say thank you so much to all of my incredible Patreon members. I love this community so much and I'm beyond grateful for all of your support. You really do make a massive difference to my channel, so thank you all so much. Please make sure you give this video a like and a comment because it really does make a huge difference to increase the engagement and promote this video in the algorithm. And please make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's a free way to support the channel and it does make a big difference. So please help me get to my goal of 150k subscribers by the end of the year. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you'll join me again in the future for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets and drama. Thank you so much. Bye.